Hello, this is John Smith, and welcome to the Psalming Effect for this week. I'd like to share with you a devotional thought from Psalm 63, verses 1 and 2, but I'll begin with a little story. You know, have you ever felt like you were at the end of your rope? What do we mean when we say that? Oh, I'm at the end of my rope. Um, I've felt that a number of times in life, some of them serious and some of them a little less serious. Let me just tell you an example from this summer. Uh, we have some pieces of PVC pipe and joints out at our Bible camp at Clearview Christian Camp, with which we are able to build a 9 by 9 square a 9 square volleyball structure. Okay, it's bigger than 9 by 9, but there's 9 squares that make up this, and it's an apparatus, and you basically play volleyball. Uh, but it's a whole structure made out of tubes of PVC pipe with different kinds of joints, and you set the whole thing up. And well, first of all, just building the thing was a hassle because I was doing it by myself, and going up and down a ladder and trying to. I started off trying to build it on the ground and then erect it and brace it, and then go and add pieces to it, and the pieces that I put together just wouldn't stay together in time for me to uh, add pieces. So, anyways, I was just having a lot of frustration, and I had to basically start over again several times before I figured out a method of putting it together piece by piece and erecting this structure. Well, then the frustrating thing was that it didn't last. Pieces started to cave and break, and then during one week of camp, it got used quite a bit. Well, I had to go and mend those pieces a lot, and then there was a really big wind. One weekend at camp this summer, and the whole structure collapsed in all these twisted pieces and everything. And I spent several minutes trying to put them all up again and patch up the pieces that had broken and everything, and thought I had fixed it. And then I was out the next weekend, and there had been another wind, and it was all knocked down again. And I was at the end of my rope. And so I finally just, I had used up all of my energy and all of the time and all of the duct tape that I was willing to spend on it this summer. And I just took the whole thing apart and I stored away the pieces. And, hopefully next summer, either me or maybe it'll be someone else that'll have the will and the desire to reassemble this thing and put it up again so we can use it. Well, that's maybe an insignificant example of what happens when we get to the end of our rope and we just feel like and maybe do give up on something. But we experience those feelings and those times in our life where we're at the end of our rope in much more significant ways, in things like our marriage, in things like parenting, maybe in conflicts at work. We get to that point where we feel like we're at the end of our rope. Well, today I want to share with you a thought from Psalm 63 and verses 1 and 2. And there's a phrase that's used here. It's not at the end of my rope, but the phrase is this. It's from verse 2. It says, "From the end of the earth I call to you." And so when I heard that phrase, "from the end of the earth," that made me think of what it's like to be at the end of my rope. When you're at the end of the earth, when you're about as far away from God as you can feel you are, you can still call out to God. Let me read the verses 1 and 2. Hear my cry, O God. Listen to my prayer. From the end of the earth I call to you when my heart is faint. Lead me to the rock that is higher than I. You know, the reality is that some of the things that we encounter in life that we have to deal with end up being too much for us by ourselves. We get ourselves into problems. We face challenges. Something stretches us and uses up all of our energy and all of our emotional strength, maybe all of our time, maybe even all of our money. You know, we just spend ourselves and we feel like we can't go on. That's actually not when we should begin to pray, but certainly when we get to that point, that's when we need to go to God. Because God can help us get through things that otherwise we would have difficulty getting through by ourselves. We actually shouldn't wait till we get to the end of the earth or to the end of our rope. We should be praying about those significant things and inviting God and living in His strength all the time, for the sake of having a healthy marriage, for the sake of parenting our children well, for the sake of getting along well at work and in other circumstances where conflict often emerges. Lead me to the rock that is higher than I. That's another picture that you could dwell on. Actually, I would encourage you to dwell on this psalm all throughout this week. There's lots of other stuff in it. I only looked at the first 2 verses. But it's a really important idea that we're not facing life alone. Our Creator is there for us. The rock that is higher than I is there for us. And the rope that we have, which is maybe our own strength and our own wisdom and our own resources, is only so long. But we're not limited by that. We have our God and His Spirit, which He promises to us and which He fills His disciples with, to help us live and to help us be the people that we want to be. So let's make sure we draw on those resources. Let's be in prayer to God, not just in the cry out, I'm at the end of my rope moments, but let's be in prayer to God daily, so that we maybe don't get to the end of our rope quite so often, because God is helping us along the way, and His strength is the strength with which we are living our lives. Because in 21, He's still the one.